All right, awesome. Well, I'll just get started introing before people get here. But I'm doing a series called Battle Talks Live, and it's based off of my album, Warplanes EP. And the Warplanes EP is just about love. I'm sorry, Warplanes EP is about the opposite of what White does. So it's about hate, about betrayal, about violence. It's about all the dark parts of life. And so I wanted to get some folks on who just wrote some music that had a little bit of that grit to it. And, the Battle Talks is also, the whole mantra for it is just it being about that every great artist has a battle story. And I was thinking to some of my friends and thinking to some people that I knew that have crazy, amazing stories of fighting through some adversity. And Brian was definitely one of them. And is it popping up? Mm-hmm. We good? Okay. Brian is the guitar player for Korn, but he also has his own band, Love and Death. He has done everything from make documentary movies to being a New York Times bestseller, winning Grammys as an artist with Korn, and all sorts of craziness. The one thing that I saw online, which I thought was amazing, is freaking Guitar World said that you were one of the greatest heavy metal guitarists of all time. And I was like, dang, Brian.
But it's just, that's what they do when you're like, when you're hot. If they did a poll right now,
yeah,
we wouldn't be nowhere near it.
Bro, well, to me that makes sense, because I remember, one of the reasons also that I have Brian on is that Korn's music, that I would say my first 4 records were Green Day Dookie, Nirvana Nevermind, Korn Life is Peachy.
Really?
And Cypress Hill Temple of Boom. I'm like, where were my parents in this? This is great. This is a crazy lineup, for being.
And it's very diverse.
Yeah.
I love that.
You know what it was? This is pretty funny, and this is kind of funny to admit, but back then, you're looking through the record stores and you look at the covers. You're like, which covers grab me?
Really?
So for me, when I saw that Life is Peachy, which I think it's like the kid. Is the kid looking in the mirror, or is the one? Yeah, the one looking in the mirror.
Boy, yeah.
I was like, dang, this is spooky and creepy, and I feel this. So so that was one of the first records that I heard from you guys, and I remember, hearing those guitar riffs and being like, this is so heavy. This is so low. I'm sitting at home with my freaking Fender Strat trying to figure out how the heck y'all got that low. And I'm like, this doesn't sound anything like it. I suck.
Yeah, we went low.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of my first experience. And I think, the guitar parts, just the rage in that music, and some of the lyrics, just I really connected with, because in middle school, that's I think when I started listening to that record. In middle school, it's I was like, man, such outcast, such on the outside of the fringe of people, and so Jonathan's lyrics, I feel definitely spoke to me. And so and even still now, when I think about, my lyrics definitely have some of that darker tinge and that rock side to them. And so
7th grade was the worst year of my life.
Bro, it sucks so
it's
bad.
Brutal.
Everybody who's middle school is amazing. I'm like, I hate you. That's great for you, but it was hell for me.
Yeah, it was. Oh God, I never ever thought that life could be that bad. Just people were so mean. I got picked on. I was girls rejected me. It was just horrible. I couldn't fight because everybody grew up before me. I still am in therapy. No, I'm just joking.
But for real, no, I feel you. I feel 8th grade, 7th grade, that was some weird times.
Yeah, sure. 8th grade got better. This kid told me about Jesus, and his mom told me about Jesus and stuff, and they were nice to me. They didn't pick on me.
Oh, dang.
And so that set in some things in motion.
That was your first taste of Jesus and all that stuff?
Yep.
Dang.
But I invited him into my life.
Yeah.
In the middle of watching Friday the 13th and all this bloody hacking, I was like, maybe right now's a good time. But but I didn't tell anybody. It was just a personal secret.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
And I never lived it. I just went and did and lived my life and did the rock star stuff and partied like a maniac, sex, drugs, rock and roll until I wanted to kill myself. And then I kind of thought back to it.
I was gonna ask you about that. you know, the early days of Korn, was it like instantaneously y'all are jumping on this rocket and blasting into the stratosphere, or was it kind of like a slow journey to like getting into a bus, and like was it like small shows and then, or was it literally from the moment that you guys started you guys were doing big stuff?
No, it was slower, but I mean, it depends on what you think of as slow, because let's say '94, we finished our record.
Yeah.
Our first show was with No Doubt, and
Oh,
they were
wow.
just starting out.
Your first show was with No Doubt?
They didn't know where to put us.
What?
Because they were like, put them everywhere.
Yeah.
See where they stick.
Yeah.
You know, so they put us with No Doubt, and then they put us with not No Effects, Bad Religion.
Yeah.
And then Offspring, and then
oh my gosh, it's crazy.
And then Megadeth.
Yeah.
And then House of Pain. House of Pain hip hop, you know.
Dang.
And then Danzig, Marilyn Manson, and then,
Oh, yeah.
and so we kind of started fitting in more with the alternative metal like Manson and that stuff. And so then they threw us with Ozzy, and a lot of the crowd was flipping us off, but you know, we were gaining thousands of fans because the people in the front row could flip you off, but you could have thousands digging you, you know.
It's true. I feel like no matter who you are, if you're opening up for a legend, everybody hates the opener. Like,
yeah, you're
they
right.
freaking hate your guts, and like even if you're good, they'll be like booing you and throwing crap at you.
And we started the show. It was our guitar tech was this awesome Hispanic guy. We grew up with him.
Yeah.
And he put on a sombrero and everything. He dressed up all like a mariachi.
Oh my god.
And he came out with shakers. He's like, and everyone's like, and then we came out with dreadlocks. Just they were like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And so, but to answer your question earlier, we started. It was like the first year. Is it raining?
Oh no, it's air.
The first year was like a van.
Yeah.
And motorhome.
Yeah.
We had bought one and traveled the country with it for like a week or two, and then it caught on fire and it burned, totaled.
Oh
and then we got 2 vans.
Yeah.
And so it was quick actually, because that first tour was when we got a bus. After that tour, we said, hey, we're not going to tour anymore unless we have a bus, because we can't travel in vans.
Yeah.
So make it happen. And they made it happen.
Oh my god.
So it was
the glory days.
Yes, the label was like, okay, we're pouring tour support into this band. We're gonna have to work hard to get our money back. And so they start working Korn, and then we start growing. And
that's crazy. Yeah, I feel like one of the first songs because I think it's the top of Life is Peachy. Is Twist on the top of Life is Peachy?
Yeah. Yep.
When I heard that him doing that like crazy vocal thing and all the guitars, I was like, what world am I in? This is like
schizophrenic.
I was like, this is another planet. But for some reason I couldn't stop listening to it. It was almost like I'd never heard anything like it, you know?
It was just odd.
It was crazy. So I'm sure people had that same experience, whether they were like No Doubt fans, like, you know, punk, pop, ska, you know, or rap or whatever y'all are playing for. I'm sure. I mean, you guys definitely kind of found your own thing.
Yeah.
I was gonna, as a part of that, I was gonna ask you, like the 7-string guitar thing. I heard you talk about this before, but I'm curious, like, where did you guys get that? Like, where did that come from?
It was the Steve Vai model. He came up with it.
Which is crazy.
And I don't know why, but he made a 7-string with a lower.
Yeah.
You know, and because he's a lead player.
Yeah, he plays like kind of happy sounding stuff too.
Yeah, and so everything had to do with our guitar player Monkey. He was a huge Steve Vai fan, and he wanted that guitar, and so he got it. And then Phildy, our bass player, was like, "Man, that low string's cool," and he figured out they have a 5-string bass that you can tune down. It was a low B, and so he tuned it down, and they started writing like part of their song. They were kind of like funk. They were like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Faith No More mixed together, and
That's
so.
crazy.
And then like they would do this funk stuff during the bridges, and then in the verses, and then on the bridges they would like go down to the low tuning.
Yeah.
So when I joined the band, I grew up with these guys in high school, and I was their roadie before I joined the band.
What? I didn't know that.
It was like I was the guy that was shredding in 9th grade, and they all looked up to me, and then they started getting into music, and then they kind of ditched to me because I was stuck in the metal stuff.
Yeah.
And they wanted to go more alternative funk, and so once they came to their senses and went back to metal.
Yeah.
When Alice in Chains started getting big and the grunge and all that.
Yeah.
That's when they brought me in, and then we just started Korn. Basically, every song was on the low string. you know.
That's crazy.
So that's how we got our sound.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Yeah, I heard the Steve Vai thing, and I was like, is that true? That can't be true.
Yeah.
Because like Steve Vai, I mean, when I think of him, I think of finger tapping and like
right?
you know what I mean, all the crazy like kind of beautiful type, you know, but nothing like hard or heavy or.
Yeah.
So y'all.
So Steve was driving down the freeway and like K Rock or something in LA was playing Blind.
Yeah.
And he heard he had heard about us, and then he heard the song on the radio, and he pulled his car over, and he was like, okay, they were going to discontinue that guitar because it wasn't selling good. And he's like, this could change everything. And it changed everything, and the 7-string went like through the roof.
That's
changed
crazy.
Guitar playing. That's why we got on that list back then, because we weren't shredders. And I'm not saying we suck or anything, but we're awesome at our style, and we're just not shredders, you know? We're good writers, and we have our own sound and style.
Yeah.
But there's so many shredders out there, so like those lists are comprised of those now, you know?
I feel like that way about playing guitar, even singing. I'm like, I'm not some crazy singer, but how I use it or how I play. I feel like sometimes it's not about like how crazy you play, and it's just about how you use it and how creative you are with it. Like y'all, I can't even tell that you guys have two guitars half the time because it sounds like it's one guitarist. It's like it sounds like Monkey's parts are with your parts, and like they just kind of find their way together. It's wild.
It's like we're guitar twins.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, identical guitar twins, but with different color hair and stuff.
Yes.
I saw your post where you were like, you age like Johnny Depp. I was like, that's freaking hilarious.
Dude, he looks so good. His wife, he was like, man, I met him 15 years ago or whatever it was, and he still looks exactly the same.
I hate people like that. My mom is like that. I'm like, you literally look like when you just had me, like right now. Get out of here. Get out of here with that crap. But yeah, I was gonna ask you too. Like I have two questions that I always ask, and these are the kind of more deeper questions. But the first one I'll ask you, which I probably know what you're gonna say, but I may be surprised because now watching that movie, I thought I knew what you were gonna say, but now that I'm watching that movie, there's a lot of what I'm about to ask you.
Oh,
but
cool.
What would you say is one of your biggest personal struggles that you've ever been through, and the battle that it took to overcome it? Because I just like when I was watching that movie, I'm like, dang, there's so many.
Right?
So many.
Oh, so many personal struggles. I mean, the obvious answer is the drug addiction, you know, and trying to overcome it year after year and falling back into it, and then just saying screw it, and then going on a 2-year binge with pills and methamphetamine and everything. But that was probably the hardest one to stop. You know?
I didn't even know that you had tried multiple times up until you fully got clean like that. Like, you know, there were like a bunch of times, like when you checked yourself into the hotel and like some of this other stuff. Like, I didn't know that. That's wild.
And but it was when I, you know, went back to that faith thing that happened when I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I did that prayer or whatever when I was 12 and walked away from it, but now I need it to become real.
Yeah.
Or I'll just try something else.
Yeah.
I was like, show me you're real.
Yeah.
By changing me.
Yeah.
Or this is all bogus and you're not real, you know?
Yeah.
And so I changed. So there's proof. You can't deny a changed life. You know, nobody can.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. Like I wasn't into meth, but I was definitely like heavily drinking, and I remember having that moment where I was sitting on the side of a building just being like, just drunk and being like, man, if I had just died right here, nobody would care. You know what I mean? No one would care about me. And I remember, you know, walking back to my dorm room and praying and asking God, like, God, put people in my life that are gonna help me change and bring me back to you. Because I had also had like kind of a history of, you know, growing up in the church, but I had really gone far from it. And
was it a bad experience growing up in the church, or good, or
man,
mixed?
it was a bad experience because my stepfather, you know, he was really rough with me. He was really rough with me, especially about faith. It was like I couldn't ask any questions. I couldn't be like, hey, God, like in the Bible it says this, but then God did this. Like, how do these things match up? Or like, hey, you know, like, why are we supposed to pray every time before we eat, or something like that? Something crazy that really wasn't a thing. You know, it was just like some sort of religious practice. And I used to like forget to pray before I ate, and I would get grounded if I didn't do it. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And then, you know, my stepfather would be like, you know, seeing somebody who doesn't speak English and walking up to him and be like, speak English or something like that. And I'm like, wait, the only book you read every day is the Bible, but yet like you're missing the love between the pages. Like, how are you?
That could damage someone, man.
So
you made it through that. That's because it's basically spiritual abuse, you know.
Yeah.
And it's and it could cause someone to run away from God their whole life. You know?
Yeah.
And just become atheists.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's really
yeah,
good.
I think, you know, I really thank God that like I had a second chance at like really having an encounter with him, because, you know, that moment, like just like you, I had a moment where in an instant, like all this drinking and everything else I was doing kind of went out the window, you know, and it was just like everything else felt not as important as, you know, this feeling I was getting from God and just this transformation that was happening. And so it's like, you know, people can quote scripture or be like, the Bible says this weird thing or whatever. And I'm like, listen, I had an encounter with Jesus. I don't know how this matches up with this, but I know I had a real thing. And so
It's like the blind dude, you know? He's
Yeah.
like, look, they're all arguing. What, did he heal you on this day? You're not supposed to.
Yeah.
He's like, look, I don't know. All
Yeah.
I know is that I couldn't see, and now I can see. That's all I know.
yeah.
You
You
can't
deny it.
You can't deny
Yeah.
what your experience. You know?
And that's always my hope for friends who don't believe, is just that, you know, I'm not going to sit around smacking them in the head with the Bible. I want them to like have an encounter like I did with God, where it's like it's real, it's not fictitious, it's not like contrived, like, okay, play the organ, get it going while I say this really crazy emotional thing
Right.
to make them cry and to get them in a place where maybe they'll accept Jesus. Like there's a place for that, you know, for where people need to open up their hearts, and music can bring them to that place. But for me, I always want my friends to have that lasting kind of thing, you know, and an experience like we had. It's like that's what keeps it going for a lifetime, no matter what happens, you know.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's the real high, man. It's nothing like it, and I love it that so many people, and I get to be included in that you don't have to be just stuck in your Christian bubble with the Christian friends and Christian church, and you know, you can actually he's placing people in like sports and media and everything, you know, and so it's just get out of the box type of deal.
Did you like? That's one thing I always wondered, but for you was like when you left the band, which I absolutely understand why you left Korn in that moment. You know, especially after watching the movie, I'm like, wow, you know, to be a dad, to fully focus on getting yourself clean and all sorts of stuff. Well, just all sorts of stuff going on. Like it made sense, but like that must have been a lot of hate directed towards you. Like so many like probably people just hating on you and all sorts of stuff. Like, would you say like that was part of the reason why you went to Israel? Like right after that happened, right after you kind of left the band, did you go to Israel to kind of escape a lot of the hate and didn't know how to get away from it, or like?
I was so high and excited about Jesus. They were like, "Oh, he got baptized in Israel. You want to go get baptized where Jesus did?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do this." And but at the same time, it was like, you know, you said God send me people in my life, you know, to help me change.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, God, show me where you want me to go, what you want me to do, and then the Israel trip fell in my lap. Actually, they paid for me to go because someone backed out the last minute, and so I got their everything.
That's crazy.
So because everybody was saying like, oh, they're gonna try to brainwash me and take advantage of me.
Yeah.
And they're like paying for my. They were like, we want to show you love instead of like what people are saying, and so it was really cool. And I wouldn't change it for nothing. But I was a little bit out of my mind, like in the movie you saw the doc. Like I put on my front door, don't ring the doorbell. I'm working on God's music.
I saw
Like,
that.
Just those people you just want to smack, you know.
It's always like even like Kanye and stuff like that. You know, I understand his early moments of believing in Jesus. It's like. You know, people say like in the beginning you're kind of a baby Christian. You're a new life. You're making mistakes. You're doing things that maybe like you wouldn't do if as you get further and further along in knowing God and understanding who God is to you, who you are to God, like all sorts of stuff. Like you do kind of stuff like that where you put on your door like, you know, don't interrupt me. I'm doing God's music. You know, and you're like, well, it's like that's not exactly right. Like the heart of it is right, you know.
It's just annoying, man. It's just straight up annoying. And yeah, I've seen Kanye. he's like, I love it when he says some things, but then others I'm like, oh my God, that's
I
me. That's me back in the day where you're just annoying.
Yeah, it's
you're that annoying Christian. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
but you got to get through that phase. And
you do.
I know he will too, but he
absolutely
didn't hurt him.
No,
He got
no.
freaking #1 album and all this stuff. And
I know,
so
it's
he's
crazy.
controversial anyway, so it kind of works for him.
I mean, that's what's kind of crazy to me too. Even looking at like listening to that first record, Korn, you know, Life is Peachy, and like if I would have ever thought those guys from that or the is it Family Matters tour? That was one. I had that album. I can't remember what. Family Values tour.
Family
I had that.
Was
Yeah,
Urkel. That's Urkel.
It's not Urkel. Sorry, Steve Urkel. I love you. Not that.
Yeah, it's Family Values, but it was everything but Family Values. You know, it was
crazy.
Freaking crazy, vulgar, and all this. Like even the we had that's Sick and Twisted. No, but it was just
you had like it was like Orgy. Like I think it was like, which is a band, not a thing, but Orgy, and then Rob Zombie I think might have been on it or something, right? Or like
it was
no Power Man 5000 or something.
Yeah, we had everybody. It was like Linkin Park for 1 year, Limp Bizkit, Power Man, Zombie. Everybody you mentioned, was on there. STP, Stone Temple Pilots came on it 1 year.
It's crazy.
So and we owned that tour. So
oh wow, really I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
that's
so
crazy.
when we didn't even play on it, we were able to profit from it.
I mean,
it was amazing.
That's
but
wild.
that was like 3 years, and then then it was all gone.
Yeah. that's one thing too I was going to ask you is like, you know, I think I'm still kind of early on in my career as an artist, and so some of my bucket list things are some things that you have 100% accomplished, like getting a Grammy or having a #1 record or whatever. So like that scene where I saw you have all these plaques all over, stretched across the ground, stuff that like people like me who are getting started, like you're like, oh man, this is like what I dream of having. Not because I don't know why. It's just like oh man, I want to accomplish. It's like that type A. I want to accomplish this thing. And I see these Grammys on the floor, and I see all these plaques on the floor, and you're saying, yeah, I'm gonna sell them or whatever. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy.
Because that was my idol. Yeah. All that was my idol. Money, sex, drugs, rock and roll, and fame and success. It was my idol. Yeah. So in my mind, I was like, that's not me no more.
Yeah.
But my family was like, don't sell them, please. that's a accomplishment. And so they talked me out of selling them.
Yeah.
Remember my daughter in that scene? Yeah. Remember she was like, they're just awards. My daddy said that he was gonna hang my pictures on the wall.
I know.
So it was precious, right?
Dude, there were some moments, like being a father of two, there's some moments in that documentary that like broke my heart, and like, but also like were heartwarming. Like I feel like you brought people through a roller coaster of emotion of like just everything, the whole thing. And what's weird is like no matter if like it's showing a scene of like you guys being apart or you guys together, I just always felt there's like this deep bond between y'all no matter what. I mean, you guys are, it's like me and my mom, and that like she's all that I have, you know, like my dad passed away, so you know, she's all that I have. And when you have something like that where it's like your parent is all that you have, there's really nothing that can, like, I mean, she could probably cut off my arm and I'd still like her. I mean, I'd be really bummed because I like this arm, but you know, I mean, she could do anything. I'd still be into her. And so, you know, it was cool to watch that. And you know, and there was this one scene too, the where she's swimming, the swimming scene where they're taking the
Woo!
I was like, oh my, I was like, woo! I was like, not that one.
Because I was trying to just survive and make it, you know?
Yeah.
And be the dad that I could be while I'm touring nonstop and, you know, have this crazy public life. And the poor kid was suffering. But that, even during that time, my heart was breaking because that family who's watching her, you know, they were awesome, but at the same time, she was like wondering who she was and who was her family, you know?
Yeah.
And so I had a heart, that's why I dove into the drugs, because I didn't know what to do with her, and it broke my heart that she didn't have like a steady family at home.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what do I do? This is all I can do, but it's breaking my heart. And so I would just medicate. And then I got to that point where I'm like, you know, I should leave. She needs me at home. Yeah. But then I'm like, I can't leave my career. I can't leave. And then I met Jesus, and he's like, why don't you do something radical and leave everything and follow me and be there with your daughter, you know? Yeah. So I was like,
it's crazy.
And then I got the power and the strength to do it. Yeah. And I did something crazy, man, by faith.
It's wild because I think like there's I've had a few friends that have not done the exact same thing, but done a thing like you have done, whether they're big producers or another known guitar player in a bigger band, and they left everything after having a moment with God where they're like, I feel like I'm making idols out of music. I feel like I'm making idols out of all this stuff, and they left. And just like I saw in your documentary, it's like it's a really hard bit to like get back on your feet and get going again, like and get back to normal life. Like it's not just like, okay, I gave my life to God, everything's great. Like it was like it just maybe you were clean from drugs and you were with your daughter, which helps a ton. But it's like there's still struggle. There was still a battle to find like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing?
And then who am I supposed to be? And and I didn't know I was being an annoying Christian, like and saying stupid stuff. I thought I was like, and so I had to get rid of that because, I was a drug addict and everything anti-God,
Yeah.
And then I came to God, but people don't realize that the religious spirit, the religious frame of mind is enemy to God too.
Yeah.
And so I became an enemy to God in a different way, right?
So
a religious, annoying way. And so he had to like he delivered me from drugs, and then he needed to deliver me from all that religious crap.
It's crazy.
Yeah, man.
It's cool to see too, like years later you rejoining Korn, and now you're on the road touring with them, you're making records with them, because a lot of people like who are Christians, or even just in general, people in general, like who like, okay, you left the band, why would you go back to it? But it's like, it's almost like you left to heal and get your life right and family right and everything, and then once you were in a healthy place, you were like, oh man, I miss my brothers in my band, I miss making music with these people that are awesome, that I love.
I became a normal person with Christ in me. And so what better place to go back and to be that person to people that are stuck in that lifestyle that I was still. Not my band, but a lot of the fans,
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's a win-win for me.
Yeah.
To like for as far as like purpose, it's a win-win because I get to be a voice, I get to be an example to all those people.
Yeah.
Then I get to be reconciled with my friends and family. I get to be reconciled with all of that stuff, and I get to be financially blessed and just increased in every way.
Yeah.
Everything's been made whole.
It's
everything.
Crazy. It's crazy. Everything you lost is coming given back to you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And so, but that religious mindset was like, oh, that's not me. I can't go play those songs anymore. And, But God was like, that's what better place for you to be than people that were just like you.
Yeah.
It's like you go into church and there's all Christians mostly with a few trickling in, every week. But you go to a place like that and you're surrounded by none, you know, and so it's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. That was one thing too. I love that, like Jonathan Davis, like he said, he was just like, yeah, Brian's not one of those annoying, like always preaching at you kind of guy, something like that. And I was like,
come on, say what he really said. He said
I can't remember.
He said, hey, it's cool. He's not a preachy MFer.
Yeah, that's what it was.
He didn't say MFer.
That's what it was. So funny.
Everybody, when we played it in probably a few dozen theaters, around the world, like mainly in America, but Australia did a tour there and everything.
So cool.
And every time that part came on, everybody started laughing and clapping. Because that's what's cool about the movie. It's it's authentic.
Yeah.
I didn't censor Jonathan.
No.
It's like how do Christians and non-Christians blend together in everyday life? Like, do you walk away from your family if they're not Christian? Do you have to, you know what I mean? And so I think it's a good picture and a good story of showing how you just love and respect people where they're at, and vice versa. They respect me and my faith and everything that I do, and so it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, it was really cool having Richard Patrick on last week, because it was like, we don't agree on everything, but I love his passion. I love that he believes what he believes, and I really wanted to give him room to kind of like tell me what it was, and I feel like there's that religious spirit in me that wants to just hit back with, like, someone says something that's not exactly what I agree with, and just I want to go blah 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 blah. But it's like maturity and adulthood and being a father and just being a person, like makes me like, no, I'm not gonna like, no, I'm gonna let these people say what they believe. Like, why should I not listen to what they have to say if they're gonna listen to what I have to say? And and it was kind of, it was eye opening. There was one thing that he talked about where he's like, well, yeah, I hate that thing. And I'm like, well, wait, you hate that thing too? I'm like, we hate that thing together. I'm like, but then you're cool with it and I'm not cool with it. And it was like, it was just kind of there's still similarities in our differences. There's still human things of like even what's going on right now. It's like Christian or not Christian, Republican or liberal, like Democratic. It's like it doesn't matter. Like I feel like we all should be on the side of like humanity, like love on the side.
Yeah.
And I feel like too, like when you're on God's side, when you're on when you follow Jesus, you're gonna end up on the right side of history. It's just gonna be how it is, because if you're truly following who Jesus was, you're gonna end up being out there with the people who are hurting, and being a voice for the people who need help, and so
Jesus like he's making everything brand new and perfect, man, and it doesn't look like that on this side actually. It's obviously it's not, but but I just love, even though it's very painful for a lot of people, I love that it's like God's attacking the like at first it was the Me Too movement, and just women being so valued and honored and equal and all that and stuff.
Amazing.
And that's growing and growing, and things change with that.
Big changes.
And even though there's so much pain right now with the racism and all that, I think that whole thing is getting like demolished.
Yeah.
And so yes, there's gonna be division. It's gonna be messy. It's like a new birthing for humanity's coming.
True.
And when birth happens, it's messy and painful, right?
Yeah.
But then the miracle comes, the miracle.
Bro.
And so I'm really praying for that. This is just hurtful, but there's going to be reform, police reform, and systemic racism, demolished, all this stuff, and it will take time, but I think real change is going to happen.
I love, even though it's destructive, it's like I love seeing the statues ripped down of these people that should not be glorified. Shouldn't even have a statue of them. Like, what's the point? Like I understand not forgetting our history, because we don't want to repeat things like Holocaust. We don't want to repeat things like racism. But at the same time, I don't want those things glorified around me and put in places where they shouldn't be, and all sorts of stuff like that. But I'm with you. I'm like, it's messy, because there's a rebirth. There's like a miracle coming, something amazing coming, which is hopefully freedom. And my
healing,
like healing and freedom. And it's been an eye-opening week for me, for sure, with all that. And I was gonna ask you too, like, my second question is always, what's your biggest professional struggle, and that you've ever been through, and the battle that it took to overcome that?
Professional struggle?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Like give me an example.
Like, I saw some, I guess leaving the band and coming back would be one of them. But I also saw that after you were in the band, when you did your solo thing, there were some people that took advantage of you. Like things like that. Like, like I guess professional struggle. Like,
that's a good right there though, because I'm really trusting, and so when someone says something to my face and they're like, and they reveal their intentions and motives, I believe it. I'm like, oh, because I'm like that,
you mean what you say.
Yeah, but usually, I'm not perfect, but so when someone is just a freaking liar, and then I learn it later, that's the hardest personal or professional struggle. And I've encountered that a couple times in my life. That one in probably 2008, that was the worst though, because I really believed this guy, and then even to the point where it was like occultish, because like he got basically put on trial and stuff, and I still was like, oh man, that's like, he's just getting attacked right now. His character's getting attacked, but they're like, he was a crook. I mean he lied so well, and then he would cry. And feed orphans with me. No. Feed orphans with me and cry. So I'm like,
how are you stealing from me and then doing this thing with your other hand?
Yes.
Crazy.
It's crazy. Like, how can you be so caring for orphans but then stealing and lying.
Yeah.
It was so twisted.
Mind blowing. I feel like humans are like so set up to do bad even when they're trying to do good. It's like we just suck at that part of life of trying to be good, and that's where I feel like all this stuff with transformation through God and Jesus is important, and you know, it's been important for me to just, it kind of recenters me. I start leaning that way. Oh, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm like, oh, no. And it's not all about like, you know, morality, but it is, you know, it just to have a better life, to not be on trial where someone's ripping you a new one, you know, because you've done all these horrible things. I'm like, because of that voice and that Holy Spirit that I feel, you know, kind of pulling me towards good things, I don't have a lot of that in my life because I'm constantly being checked. You know, constantly somebody's like, I have this, you know, this feeling of like, you don't want to do that because here's what's going to happen down the line. You know, that's one thing with this record. It's like the record that I have, that Warplanes record. It's like there's a lot of like internal struggle on that record. I have a song called Dark Side, which is kind of about, you know, having those darker leanings, wanting to do those kind of things, you know, and even just kind of self-medicating and a lot of stuff that you were talking about too. It's like whether it's alcohol or you know other stuff. It's like it definitely you know it's definitely that darker side of myself. And you know there's other songs on the record, Play with Fire, other songs that are just darker. So this whole record has this kind of like internal struggle that is just constant. But you know,
it's dude, if we're not struggling with something, then something's wrong, because we're here to learn, and resistance is the classroom that God uses, you know. And so yeah, there's always something that we're facing, right?
Oh yeah. I was gonna ask you, this is one thing I saw when I saw that you guys had a #1 record when it was Britney Spears, NSYNC, and Backstreet Boys. I feel like that just says how big Korn has been in general. Like I'm like, I just had no idea that you guys, like it was during that time. I'm like, Britney Spears?
For probably 98 to 2002.
Yeah.
It was, what is that? About 4 years. Yeah, it was like every record we came out, we were on MTV morning, afternoon, and night. There's rotation, heavy rotation.
Yeah.
And
the
like
glory days of TRL.
Yeah. TRL. But like I'd even get my daughter ready for school, and like 8 a.m. they'd be playing Here to Stay and stuff. And so it was really, really big for a long time, and it's still like we still get to enjoy it. Every album's been top 10.
I saw that
for 25 over 25 years. Every album's been top 10. So that's
crazy.
That's a blessing, man. And and I'm 50 like in 2 weeks.
Dang.
So it's like we're still top 10 after all these years.
Dude.
So it's just MTV really helped us back then, man.
Yeah. I feel like back then there was like MTV was like the spotlight, and you put it on bands, and so you would pick up their style. You would pick up, like, you would know what bands are cool and what bands are not cool. And like now it feels a little like you're swimming in this ocean of everything, and there's really not a lot of spotlighted moments.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's hard to know, like, well, wait, like, you know, I mean, there's obvious ones like Billie Eilish, but then there's just all these other
Who's
folks.
Billie Eilish? What is that? No, I'm just joking.
But it's like, oh my gosh, I'd be like, what the heck?
Dude, she made like 50 million last year. I saw on Forbes.
It's crazy.
She's
she like 21 or something, or less?
No, she had less. I think she's
19.
20.
I mean,
and she just made 50 million bucks.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I've never heard it put that way.
Yeah.
That how you said it. There's not a lot of spotlighted moments except the obvious ones.
No.
Because there's so much good content out there.
Yeah.
And it gets lost in a sea of freaking
You're just
art.
browsing and browsing and browsing. Like, I mean, even like the stores, the physical stores, it was something so cool about walking in, holding a CD and staring at the art and just imagining what the record sounded like even. You know what I mean? And then taking it home, putting it in, and like sometimes you got a winner, sometimes you got a loser, but like it just was, it was kind of more of music was different, you know. And I think now, you know, kind of like what I've seen and some of my friends is like we're kind of finding the new spotlight in things like licensing and like sync. You know, we're
And
finding
that's
in
movies
TV shows
and TV shows
yeah.
and everything like
yeah,
right?
and it's helped
like
us so much.
Netflix and Amazon and that's changed.
That's
right?
where a lot of people, like a lot of my fans, have found me from TV shows and things like that, and it kind of builds a fan base in a different way and kind of spotlights certain songs because it puts an emotional moment or something.
How do they find your name through the show?
You know,
the credits?
Well, they use Shazam, so like it's a huge technology kind of thing. So it's like they'll be watching Riverdale and they'll just be like Shazam it, and then it'll be like, oh, it's Far From Home from Sam Tinnesz, and it's like that's kind of been the only way I can get spotlighted because it's so tough. You know what I mean? It's so tough.
I mean, I was going to talk to you and play you a couple things today.
Oh yeah.
But of my old music that I want to kind of bring back and update.
Yeah.
And but then I really like it, but then I'm like, how do you get it out there? You know, I mean, I got my base audience and they'll support it, so I guess that's it. But I'm just like, then it comes out and then it's like fast food, you know. It's like it's new and then it's old. So
I know.
and it's so much work to put into it, right?
It's like Netflix. I feel bad for these shows. They put out a whole season of a show and people consume it in one night, and then they're like, "Where's the next season?" And they're like, "Well, that took a year to do."
Right.
So I mean, even my record, I'm like, I have maybe 16 songs, and I'm like, that took me about a year or 2 years to get that body of songs together. Like to write all those songs. I mean, we wrote a ton of songs, but that took a while to get the right ones, you know. And it's like
brutal, bro.
I know.
But the cool thing is it'll live out there forever, you know. And so you get it out there, and hopefully, people come back and be touched by it like throughout the years over and over. So but I mean, we still, that's art is creating is what we're designed to do, so we're still gonna do it no matter if it's stale next week.
Whether people that's one thing I feel like too. It's like, what else am I gonna be doing? What else are you gonna be doing? It's like you're gonna wake up every day and either do what we feel like we're supposed to be doing, which is making music, or work it in some stupid job that we hate. You know what I mean? And so it's, I think that I love seeing your story of like being in Korn, leaving and kind of going into this time of just healing and all sorts of stuff and doing your own music. And like, I didn't even know you could sing, which is crazy. Like to hear your voice on those records was like, wow, he's got a great voice. Like
Melodyne. That's the auto.
The auto tune.
Yeah, I mean, I could sing if I really concentrate, and a lot of times I sing line by line.
That's so crazy.
I'll sing like one line and then I'll stop. I'll sing another, and so but live, dude, I can fake it, but it's nowhere near the altered version, the corrected version. So it's not my favorite thing to do, but I still want to do like some projects, like the Love and Death. I want to do that. I want to do just. Brian and Welch, a new album, because I put one.
I was gonna ask you. What is coming next? Like, is it a whole album for Love and Death, like a new album?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think so. And
Awesome.
And then I would like to do a solo album, another solo album.
Yeah, that Flush song is so sick. That
was
one of my favorites from that.
I want to do more electronic vibe and just like theatrical. Like movie soundtracks with some Coldplay mix, with some dark 9 Inch Nails, with some strings, with some just all of that, and then have my mediocre voice but with so much passion, and use the art, make it the whole package, not about one thing,
I mean, Trent's voice, he's got a great voice and all, like Trent Reznor, but like it's not like, oh my gosh, Trent Reznor's voice is my favorite voice of all time.
Right.
He just gives you so much passion you can't help but listen. Like, he's gonna say something, you're gonna listen because whatever he's saying is he believes it and he
it's
means
a sound.
Yeah,
it's the whole sound.
Yeah, he's whispering sometimes, and I'm like, that's sick.
I straight ripped him off with it.
Oh my gosh.
I love the whisper vocal.
Yeah, that's sick. It's awesome.
So you'll give me some feedback.
Yes, I can't wait to hear it. Well, I'll cut it short this time because last time we did an hour and it cut us off in the middle of it. So, dude. So thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, are all these living online afterwards because I want to go back and watch Richard's too.
They're gonna all be living online in my Instagram Live and other places on YouTube, I'm sure. And yeah, we keep them and make sure people can go watch them. And
Rad.
this is great though.
Okay.
This is exactly what I was hoping to hear your story and hear some background, hear some faith, hear some music, hear some real stuff. So
Reconnect.
yes, for
This
real.
guy helped me move in to my house. I joined Korn. I moved out of my rental house.
Yeah.
I was able to buy a house a year later, but all my stuff was in storage, and I lived in hotels and tour buses for 1 year to save up. I bought my first house, and this guy helped me move in.
Yes,
So.
that was so funny. I remember picking up stuff and be like, oh my gosh, this is like memorabilia from the band or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not breaking this. Don't break this. This is important.
So I didn't sell all those, so that's good.
That's
so
awesome.
Hopefully that's a good.
No, dude, that was so fun. I definitely, I loved kind of getting to hang and move and yeah, it was, and then I saw you at church and reconnected there.
Yeah.
And so it's just been cool to it's good to catch up today.
Yeah,
'cause
me too, man.
Yeah.
And are we gonna battle rap?
I think so.
Because I thought
Yeah,
you said
Battle
there's
Talks
there's
live.
Oh,
It's a
Battle
battle rap.
Talks.
Well, I mean, we could rap.
I'm just joking.
Hip hop, bottomless. My lyrics are bottomless.
We do have a question.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
We got a
So,
question.
who are some musicians that made a lasting impact on you? And it's for both of you.
You first.
Whoa, I mean, everybody. Like Nine Inch Nails, Ozzy Osbourne,
Yeah.
Faith No More,
Yeah.
Metallica.
Dude, Metallica was on mine. That was one of the first guitar riffs I ever learned.
Man, Coldplay.
Yeah.
I mean, so many different. Ice Cube,
Yeah.
Public Enemy, and Rage Against the Machine. I can go on.
I was
and
gonna
on
ask you
and
about
on.
Rage Against the Machine. That's one of mine too. I love Rage Against the Machine.
So our crazy live show is their
Yeah.
fault because Zach De La Rocha, it's his fault
Yeah.
because he would just freaking go.
He's a wild man.
Yeah, and so we wrote our music with that energy in mind, you know.
That's sick. Yeah.
And so though we didn't sound anything like Rage because
Yeah.
they're more blues,
Yeah.
but just the dynamics, you know, was
Yeah.
highly influenced.
That's
by
cool.
Rage.
Yeah, for me, some of that same, early on, it was like Nirvana and Green Day and, Nine Inch Nails and Korn records and, all sorts of stuff. And then as I moved forward, I was listening to Coldplay and One Republic and, some super pop stuff. And then, leaning over into a lot of hip hop, Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z and all these. I just love their lyrics. I feel like hip hop artists are some of the most creative because they have so much room to spread out lyrically that we don't have. We have maybe 4 lines before you get to the chorus and you somehow have to fit it all in. It's rappers they just have lines, bars and bars and bars of all these crazy lyrics.
Dude, they are geniuses. I mean, I can barely write a verse. I just can't come up with a freaking as clever, and they're just spitting
It's crazy.
lines. It's just it's an art. It's a
It
real-
is.
That's why they're billionaires.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's why they're billionaires. Why they get all the streams.
Yep.
Well, thanks so much for watching. This is the second episode of Battle Talks Live. I think we're going to have another one next week, so stay tuned. But Brian, thanks so much for being with us.
Yes, it was
man.
awesome to talk and
Freaking
catch up. And
yes.
thank you guys for tuning in. Battle Talks Live!
Battle Talks!